Circumstances are what deceive us. You must be discerning in them. We embrace evil before good. We desire the opposite of what we once desired. Our prayers are at war with our prayers, our plans with our plans. Seneca, Moral Letters, 45.6. A woman says she wants to meet a nice guy and get married. She spends all her time around jerks. A man says that he wishes he could find a great job, but he hasn't actually bothered to do the looking. Business executives try to pursue two different strategies at the same time. Straddling it's called, and they are shocked when they succeed at neither. All of these people, just as is often true for us too, are deceived and divided. One hand is working against the other. As Martin Luther King Jr. once put it, there is something of a civil war going on within all of our lives, a war inside each individual between the good parts of their soul and the bad. The Stoics say that war is usually a result of our conflicting desires, our screwed-up judgments, or biased thoughts. We don't stop and ask, okay, what do I really want? What am I actually after here? If we did, we'd notice the contradictory and inconsistent wishes that we have, and then we'd stop working against ourselves. The quote from Seneca's Moral Letters captures a profound truth about human nature and our tendency to sabotage our own goals. The idea that circumstances are what deceive us speaks to the way we often misinterpret or misunderstand the situations we find ourselves in. Instead of recognizing the reality of our circumstances, we are led astray by our emotions, biases, and conflicting desires. The result is that we end up pursuing things that are in direct opposition to our true goals or values. Consider the example of a woman who says she wants to meet a nice guy and get married. This is a perfectly reasonable desire, yet she spends all her time around people who do not align with her stated goal, jerks who are unlikely to provide the kind of relationship she is seeking. This contradiction between her desires and her actions is not uncommon. It's a reflection of the internal conflict that Seneca describes. The problem isn't just in the external circumstances, the people she chooses to spend time with, but in her own divided mind. Perhaps she is drawn to these individuals for reasons that she doesn't fully understand or acknowledge, such as a desire for excitement or a fear of vulnerability. Whatever the case, her actions are working against her stated desires. Similarly, consider a man who claims he wishes to find a great job but hasn't actually taken any steps to look for one. He might tell himself and others that he wants this change in his life, but his inaction reveals a deeper truth. He is not fully committed to this goal. Perhaps he is comfortable with the familiar routine of his current situation, even if it's unfulfilling. Or maybe he is paralyzed by fear of failure, preferring the safety of inaction over the risk of pursuing something new. Again, we see a person whose stated desires are in conflict with his actions, leading to a life that is out of alignment. In the business world, this kind of internal conflict can manifest in what is known as straddling, trying to pursue two different strategies at the same time. Executives might think they are hedging their bets by not fully committing to one path, but in reality, they are dividing their efforts and resources in a way that often leads to failure. This is another example of the internal civil war that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of, where different parts of our minds and souls are at odds with each other. What all these examples have in common is a lack of discernment, a failure to truly understand what one wants or needs. The Stoics, including Seneca, emphasize the importance of self-reflection and clarity in our desires. They recognize that much of our suffering comes from the fact that we do not really know what we want, or if we do not fully commit to pursuing it. Instead, we are pulled in different directions by conflicting desires, emotions, and judgments. To overcome this, the Stoics advise practicing mindfulness and self-awareness. We need to take the time to ask ourselves, what do I really want? What am I truly after? These questions are not always easy to answer, but they are essential for aligning our actions with our values and desires. Without this clarity, we are likely to continue working against ourselves, creating a life of frustration and disappointment. Another aspect of this issue is the way we are influenced by societal expectations and external pressures. Often, our conflicting desires are not just the result of internal confusion, but also of the messages we receive from the world around us. For example, the woman who wants to meet a nice guy might feel pressured by society to conform to certain standards of attractiveness or social status, leading her to spend time with people who do not share her values. Similarly, The man who wants a great job might be influenced by societal notions of success, causing him to feel inadequate or unworthy of pursuing his true passions. In this way, our internal civil war is not just a personal struggle, but a reflection of the larger cultural and societal conflicts we are part of. The Stoics recognized this and encouraged people to be aware of the ways in which external influences can shape our desires and actions. They taught that true wisdom comes from understanding and aligning with our inner values, rather than being swayed by external pressures. One practical way to achieve this alignment is through the practice of journaling or self-reflection. By regularly taking the time to write down our thoughts and feelings, we can gain a clearer understanding of our desires and motivations. This process helps to bring the unconscious aspects of our minds into the light, allowing us to see the contradictions and conflicts that might be driving our actions. Over time, this practice can help us to become more discerning in our choices, leading to a more integrated and harmonious life. Another important tool for overcoming internal conflict is the practice of mindfulness. By cultivating a state of awareness in the present moment, we can become more attuned to our true desires and needs. Mindfulness helps us to see through the deceptions of our circumstances, allowing us to respond to situations with clarity and wisdom rather than being driven by conflicting emotions or desires. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of cultivating virtues such as courage, wisdom, and self-discipline. These virtues serve as a guide for making choices that are in alignment with our true values and desires. When we cultivate these virtues, we become better equipped to navigate the complexities of life and to overcome the internal conflicts that can lead us astray. For example, the virtue of courage can help us to face our fears and take action toward our goals, even when it feels difficult or uncomfortable. The virtue of wisdom helps us to discern what is truly important and to make choices that are in alignment with our deeper values. Self-discipline helps us to stay focused and committed to our goals, even in the face of temptation or distraction. In conclusion, the quote from Seneca's Moral Letters reminds us of the importance of discernment in our lives. We are often deceived by our circumstances and led astray by conflicting desires and emotions. This internal conflict creates a civil war within us, leading us to pursue goals that are in opposition to each other. To overcome this, we need to practice mindfulness, self-reflection, and the cultivation of virtues such as courage, wisdom, and self-discipline. By doing so, we can align our actions with our true values and desires, leading to a more integrated and harmonious life. Subscribe Stoic Doc for more of this kind of content.